Good morning all. Welcome to another show. For those of you in Victoria, a bit sad about it being locked down again. We're thinking of you, so you know, head up, keep at it. It'll get better, or so they say anyway. And I hope it does. So stay strong, guys. Stay strong. Get yourself in your shed. Get some boxes made. So anyhow, last week you saw this crazy fool trying to put a shelf in with this tool. So this week I'm going to show you how to use it, and this is how you use it. Put it away. The thing that I did was I tried to put a shelf in, this shelf here, and I didn't actually look at what was stopping it. There was a piece of timber, a burr on the end of the shelf that actually got jammed in the dovetail that I'd cut, the dovetail slot that I'd cut, and it wouldn't let it go in. And you wouldn't believe it, straight after the show, I gave it a little tap like that and it went straight through to the back. So, hey, pay attention and look at what you're doing half the time instead of sort of rushing ahead and trying to get things finished. So what I'm going to do today is we're going to start, there's a whole checklist of things. So let me go on to one of my, I've set up the cameras so that I've got top right hand corner is just me. Top left hand corner is the shelf, okay, and the table. So we've got quite a large project. So what we have to do now is start looking at the tasks that are left. It's getting to the stage where I've got all of my shelves attached. They're all glued in. And I've started building all the other bits and pieces. So we need to have some sort of order in which to do a few of these things. So I generally start out with a list of tasks. So this is a list of tasks. So I'm going to go through the list of tasks first and show you which ones are which, and then we'll go into each of the tasks and complete them as we go through. So there's lots of different things that we have to do. So our first task, and one of the things that I wanted to show you was I've made some little runners. I'll give you a close-up of it in a minute. I've made some little runners for the drawers to sit on. Because the drawers weren't part of the initial plan, all of these little tasks had to be added later. So when you look over here, you can see in here I've got drawer runners already fitted for that one. I've got one fitted over this side here, and I need to fit one over that side there. And that's going to be this one here. So our first task is going to fit the drawer runner. Now these drawer runners are these are compact laminate. They're made from the same stuff we make the tabletop from, or the bottom of the thing. I had some left over, so I thought, well, I'll give it a shot and we'll make them up. You can make them out of timber, which are they generally made of anyway. One of the problems you have with it is because I'm sitting it on the bottom of here is it's very, very low. So there's a technique involved in fitting it into that bottom corner, and really hard to put the screws in. So I'll show you how to do that. So that was our next task. That's the first task that we're going to do. The second one is to put this shelf in here on the other side. Now that shelf looks like that. Okay, so it's going to fit in, and if you're looking at the top there, that's going to fit into there. Now, because I've already got dovetails in here, a dovetail shelf in there, I can't put another one on the other side of it. So we're going to pocket hole screw that in place. So I'm going to show you how to do that as well. So we'll go through that. So that's the second task. So fit left shelf Okay, so that's task number 2. Now, the other shelves, pretty much the same, but they're a little thinner. These ones here are 15mm instead of 19mm, which is that other one there. We're going to put adjustable shelving in all the way up here so that we can fit or adjust the shelving to put the boxes and things on that we make. So what I have to do there is drill a series of holes all up the side here. I've done it on this side already, and I've started over that side there. So another task is drill shelf support holes. So the tool that I'm going to use for that is this one here, and we'll get into the detail when I start doing it. And it's a Craig it's a Craig pin shelf jig. Okay, has 5mm pins, and the pins we use, and again I will show you these a bit closer up later. That's what they look like. So we're going to do those, and we're going to use those to do the holes. So drill the shelf support holes.
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 W.
H-O-L-E-S.
Better spell it right.
Yeah, you're trying to think and work at the same time.
Working too quickly.
Yes.
Okay, so that's the next task. Then once all that's done, we then need to build B-U-I-L-D. B-U-I-L-D drawer. Okay, so, and that will be dovetailed. Using, of course, the Gifkins Dovetail jig, we'll be using A10, and we'll discuss A10 and Jumbo A at the time. So I'll discuss that with you when we get time to do that. I briefly mentioned it last week, and that's where we're going to go with it. So once that's done, we then need to build drawer fronts. They will be very similar to these here. Okay, they'll be the same design, and we're going to domino all of the parts together there. So we're going to use the Festool domino jig. Okay, so we're getting our list of bits and pieces together. Once all that's done, all the componentry done, all the things that we have to put a back on it. Okay, so we need to build a back panel and then sand and finish. Now, that's a fairly significant list of bits and pieces that we still have to go through. We're going to try and get through them each at a time. I'll cross them off the list. I'll just put the list over here as we go through them. So our first task is to fit that drawer runner, and I'll go into that in detail. So I'm going to shift my cameras around a little bit for you, and we'll go from there. Okay, so this one here. Okay, let's see if that gives me what I need. Oh yeah. So this is my drawer runner. It's just a flat piece of plastic. I've countersunk 4 holes in there. So that's going to screw on. The problem that you have though is when you sit it like that and you try to use a drill, you can't get the drill down close enough to the bench to get a straight run of the screw through the runner. So what I did was I went and I found a flexible extension. Okay, now that flexible extension will just lock straight into my drill. like so, and then I can use it like so, and I don't have the problem of trying to sort of squeeze the drill down next to the bench to actually get it to fit. So to drill the holes, you can find in your favourite hardware store, you can find sets of these drills with the 1/4 inch hex end on them, and they just fit straight into the end of there. Okay, so they pull out and they just fit straight in, and then I can put that in the hole, and as you can see, it sits right down low. Okay, and I can just drill my hole. All right, so that's with the screwdriver. That's with the drill bit. I can do exactly the same thing with the screwdriver, and I can do that. Okay, now the flexible end has a shaft in it so that it works on the inside of the shaft. Okay, so when it turns on the inside of the shaft, and you can actually hang on to the outside without it sort of slipping around in your fingers. Okay, so it works like so. So now all we need to do is fit. So let's move this again. So I'm going to move the camera so that you can see how I'm fitting it. Just be patient. Okay, so there's my corner. Now, what I want is the runner itself is actually going to be a stop for the draw front. So the draw front will fit into the hole like so. If you can see that, maybe I have to come back a little bit. So the draw front will go on like so. So what I need to do is just make sure that my runner is brought out to the correct side, like so. I could measure it, but I'm just going to do it by eye because I know that's about the thickness we're going to have. So my draw runner has to fit right there. Now, clamp it in place. I have a couple of clamps here. Just going to be a bit awkward because of where we are and how we've got it set up. Okay, so that's just locked in place there now. All I need to do is drill some holes. And as you can see, it's quite an easy task to drill the holes. Next one. Next one. So these are just self-tapping screws that are going to go straight into there. As you can see, it's quite an easy task, especially when you have the tool to do the job. Okay, and the last one, I'm just going to take the clamp off.
So, Cole, while you're doing that, can you tell our viewers where they can get that flexible extension?
The flexible extension comes from your favourite hardware store. So one's too small. So I've just picked this up from the big green store down the road. If you, I'm pretty sure they're available most anywhere. Oh, I need that. I might put it away.
And the bits that have got the hex connector on them?
Yep, the bits come from the same store. They're made by P&N, who incidentally is owned by Sutton's. For those of you who are not quite sure what P&N stands for, P&N stands for Patience and Nicholson. They were the inventors. Let's go back to this other camera. They were the inventors of the cutting tool back in 1921, and they've gone through their trials and tribulations. In the end, Sutton's bought them out, and now they're a worldwide company. So obviously it's done them some good. Okay, so now I have, just bring this around so you can see. So now I have this fitted, so I can just put the drawer or just run on top of there. Okay, so that's task number 1 done. Okay, so that's nicely fitted. The thing about what I've done there is I haven't glued it in at all. I generally don't glue the runners in because if I want to change things, I can take them out and do whatever changes I need. So for those of you who glue them in, have a little think about how you go about it. So my next task now, I'll just cross that off my list. So where's my pen? Did I put it away? No, I didn't. I can just rub it off. What did I do with that pen, Pammy? There it is. It's the same colour as everything else. So we've done that one. So tick that off. Okay, so now fitting the left-hand side shelf. Pocket holes. Now I used the Craig kit, and I've got that already kitted up, fitted up, ready to go. So let me shift this over here. Now you can buy a whole heap of different types of these Craig kits. This one I've just fitted to, because I have a small workshop, I've fitted this one to a board that I can shift around, and I've hooked it up to my Festool dust extractor. So it goes like so. And all I need to do is just clamp that in place. Just make sure it's not going to go anywhere. And my shelf. Make sure I've got the right shelf. Just test it before I go too far. Like so. That one's going to fit in there beautifully. So what I want to do now, I think that'll be the top side of the shelf. I'll leave that in there, man. I'll go to here. So what I want to do is I'm only going to put three screws in there. So that's all I need to hold the shelf in place. It's not a structural part of the it's not a structural part of the hutch. So pencil, I need a ruler too, I suppose. So how far do we put them in? Basically, all I'm going to do is move in 50 odd millimetres from the edge, because that won't interfere with anything. So I'll come in 50 from there, 50 from there, and then halfway between those will give me a centre. square myself a line on. Got to make sure you're actually putting the holes in the right side, so that's going to be on the bottom side I need to be, not on the top side. The centre, I want a line that I can see on the jig. Now these are not critical measurements, you can make them up any way you like. I like to have things reasonably even. So 50mm here. 90. There. And so there I have my markings, you can see them there, and I'm just going to line those up and drill those. Leave that there. My lines aren't actually long enough because the markings are on the top of the jig. I need to be able to see them, so if I put that line a bit further up, I can see it. I could put little stops on either end. Make those longer. Like so. And before I do that, around a little bit so you can actually see. I've lined up with the middle marking, so it'll be that middle hole that I'm working with all the time. I'm going to turn the dust extractor on. And then I'm just going to go through the series of holes. Now you can see it. Line up my next one. Turn it over. And there we have our pocket holes done. All I need to do now is screw that in place. So if I get rid of this off the bench, so shift that out of the way. My little box of tricks here, I have now with the Craig outfit, you they have a hex driver that's as long as that. I've actually got a little shorter one because I'm going to be sitting in underneath here trying to drill the things in. So like so. Now, where does it go? So I can draw some marks on there and I could sit it in place and I could just screw the thing into place, but there's a chance that it's going to move. So I've made a couple of supports that will actually support that into the right place. Okay, so it's going to sit right there. Okay, you're saying now you're saying that's going to be in the way when you try and put the screws in. This is how we do that. So if I sit a clamp on there, and I have to do that, and the clamp is sitting on top of the shelf, so when you're screwing it, when you screw it into, when you screw up into there, you don't want the shelf popping up when you're screwing it. So you need to have something in there to lock it into place. So just putting a clamp on there will stop it from lifting. Okay, now I just push the support back. I've got access to one of the holes. Just wait, I'll just get myself some screws. Okay, so you can buy a fancy little box of screws, and they have screws for all sorts of things. The screws I'm going to use are the shorter ones designed for hardwoods. And go on to here. Now, I don't know if you're going to be able to see much here, but a little bit of braille. Just check to see that that's going to go in there. Okay, so that's the first one in. Push my stop back a bit further. A little bit more difficult on this side. I'm left-handed. I'm right-handed. Okay. So that's given me, my shelf is lined up. Just push that back a bit further. Just push that down a tiny bit. Okay, put another screw in there. Perfect. Just need to stop on here just to stop this from moving. Can you see that there?
Yeah, you probably need to put the other cameras on, Cole. We've got a singular view.
Okay. You want the third one's only from the top.
Right.
Okay. That's basically it. Oh, I've got a screw in there already. Like I said, this one's a little bit more awkward. It's in. And then the last one. Just bring my support through. And one more, and that'll get all the screws in that I need. Now, the reason I'm only putting 3 screws in there is because there's not going to be a lot of weight on it. It's going to be an occasional So now I have all my 6 screws in there. That's another task completed. Some of this stuff out of the way.
Put the front camera on.
Okay, so there we are. So now you can see we've now got all of our runners in. So I've got them in both sides, and I have my shelf in place, which is really good. That's what we're looking at, is we're trying to make sure that, you know, it's nice and stable, it's flush on the front, which is really good, and that's nice and square. So my next task, and now a little one, I'll just better tick that one off first. Got to make sure we tick them off. If you don't tick them off, so fit the left shelf, we've done that. Okay, so drill shelf supports for the other ones. So I'll talk to you about that as well. Some of these tools. So just bring that camera around here, Penny. So this is you can see it's a bit dusty, but never mind. This is the Craig shelf pin support jig. So all we do is drilling on each of those, moving it up to the next one, and then continue to drill. On the back of it, you'll see this little thing here is our pin. So that pin will fit into there and hold things in place. The other thing it does, it comes with, is a drill with a hex screw on the end of it. So a 5mm drill, and a stop that you can adjust and set to different sizes, different depths. Now, what we're fitting are these. Now, they're quite nice. They're little flat shelf supports, 5mm in diameter, and they fit like this. Spin that camera into again. So all they do is they go into a hole like so, and they fit in there like that. So if I just show you how this lot fits. So they fit in like so. 3. I've already done this side. Fits in there. And there you have it. How good does that look? How easy is that for fitting shelves? Because then it's just a matter of taking the shelf, making sure it's the right size shelf. It's just a little bit snug. Bingo. Look at that. How good's that? And then I can adjust them anywhere I like. Okay, so they can go up or down. What I need to do is I need to continue the holes all the way up here. I'll show you how to do that as well. So I'll take the shelf down and use this drill. Now, I already started these by sitting that on the shelf, and I've just done the top 3 because you don't need any holes below that, because obviously you're going to put something in there. The shelf's going to sit there anyway, or that'll give you some sort of adjustment. So just like so. Now, to do the next set of holes, poke that on there. Just make sure that's nice and tight. And with our drill, just continue up the holes, like so. Now, if you don't want to do them all, you can pick and choose the ones that you want. And all I do now is move up to the next lot. Same thing. You need to make sure that that's hard up against the front of the cabinet. Otherwise the holes are not lined up. And you can go as high as you like. To do the other side, it's just exactly the same. Bottom hole. Put the clamp on. You see all that?
That's better.
And again, just move up to the next one. Lock that in place. Just make sure you're hard up against everything. And there we have it. It's just a matter of giving that a little bit of a scuff over with a piece of sandpaper. Now I'm going to go all the way to the top. I'm not going to do it right now. There's really no need to go all that way. It just takes out time. And let's say 1, 2, 4, 6, 8, say. And that just goes straight in there. Like that. There's my pair of pliers. Put them down. There we go. Just give those a little bit of a push. There's probably a bit of sawdust in there. I'll need to clear that out later. And in this side, good thing I can count. As you can see, I've come halfway up the cabinet. Shelf from my able assistant. And there you have it. So we do set those to the right, to the front. And there's the cabinet. Okay, so all I need to do is do that. So now we can cross that one off our list as well. We're getting short on time here too, so we'll do the best we can. So drill supports. So now I've got 3 of the things done. Now it's time to build a drawer.
Cool.
We may not get this done, but we'll get as far as we can. Okay, so if I just shift a few of these tools away. Got a bit of room now. So let's push that back out of the way. It's actually started to look like a nice little cabinet now. So it's just a matter of doing all of our bits and pieces in a row. So now what we're going to do is we're going to build a drawer. Now this one I've already built this one, and this one fits in. Swing it around. Swing this around to there. So that one already fits in there. So all the sizes are for the left-hand drawer are pretty much the same. It's just a little bit narrower across the front of the drawer. And the parts I have for that I already have the bits and pieces for that drawer. Okay, so that'll be the front that fits in there. Okay, now it only just fits in the thing because I want to be able to take off a little bit of I want to be able to take off a little bit off the edges of the drawer. Right, so that's going to be the reason that I've made the front of the cabinet and the back of the cabinet it won't work, Pam.
Okay.
Right? It doesn't do it that way. So Pam wants me to put a screen up in the top right hand corner. It doesn't work.
I just wanted to swap them around, that's all.
No, it won't work. Okay, let's get on with what we're doing. So, the dovetails. Now, I spoke to you last week about dovetails. and this was my test joint. So I've used the same material to do the test joint, and I've used the A10. Now, my A10 jig is here, pretty much all set up. I made the test joint so that, of course, I've got the joints exactly the right thickness. But I talked to you about, the other thing I talked to you about was changing to a different spacing on the joints. So by spreading the joints out a little bit, you can have a wider set, or on our A10 system, you can have the narrow set. You can see the difference between the two spacings. So what I've opted for is the standard A10. So I've got my joints looking like that. Just see them. Okay, so they're relatively close, and that's because it's a fairly small project. So what we're going to do now is cut some joints. Hopefully we'll get everything cut. We've got 15 minutes. And as per rule of thumb, you should always have your dovetails on the side panel. So on the side of the drawer, okay, dovetails on the side, and the front panels are going to have the pins on it. So let's set up for that. As per usual, one of the things that we need to do is just make sure that everything is tidy and clean before we start. So a couple of minutes of maintenance. So a little bit of oil, always a good idea. Make sure things are right there, and we'll cut our dovetails. Now, because I've got everything set up, we can pretty much get straight into cutting. Would I put that? Do this. We can get straight into cutting our joints. Okay. It's set up. Now I had it already set up, so it's easy enough for me just to go ahead and cut them. Now I'm not expanding a joint, so I don't have to fiddle around doing that. So we're all good there, just making sure we're hard down on top of the template, hard up against our stops, okay? And then we need to adjust our height. Now always remember, use the opposing piece of material, which is this one, to adjust your height. Let's get this out of the way. I'm using 12mm material, so I've got to be really careful about my depth of cut. The maximum you've got for that. So all I need to do now is cut my joints. So I've got 10 minutes. Let's see if I can get it done in 10. Let's get a pair of earmuffs. So ears on, everybody. Nice set of dovetails, both ends. Let's go back to our second one. Remember, face side mark out and the bottom of the box actually pointing at my stop, red stop. That's the technique of a habit I've got into. And that habit sees me making very few errors. So there's my dovetails. That's taken all of 5 minutes. Now it's just a matter of cutting the pins. Same procedure, turn the jig around to the other side. Face side out. You'll notice that in this one here I've already drilled the holes for the front to be screwed on. It's easier to do it before you actually go through the process of cutting your joints, because we're going to be having to screw it inside, and if it's all done, a little bit easier. Okay, change my bit. So works. Opposing piece of material again, adjust the height. Again, I'm only doing a very small amount of height above the router bit. Okay, so now it's just a matter of cutting my pins. My earmuffs back on. If I can get this done in 5 minutes, we'll be good. Flip it over. Okay, so there's my sets of pins. And so we have our drawer frame built. So let's put that together. That's the inside. This one fits like so. And top piece on there. And so there's our drawer frame. Dovetails are nice, pretty flush on all the corners, tops and bottoms are flush. The timber I'm using here is New Guinea rosewood. I'm not using cedar as I usually do. I'm going to keep the cedar for the outside of the box, and as you can see on the front of the box I have the holes of where the front can be added on when I fit it into there. So we're going to stop there because we've run out of time, and next week we'll put a floor in this, get it glued together, and I will build the front for the drawer that I've already got made and show you how that's done. That'll be all dominoed together. So that'll be it for today. So take care everybody, and I'll see you all next week.